Welcome everybody back to On a Date Kinda Nervous podcast. Today we have a very, very special episode. It is our Pride and Proud episode, y'all. Happy Pride.
Happy Pride.
Yes.
Woo!
And because it is Pride season, we thought that it would be amazing and it would be our honor to have such a distinguished guest.
Prestigious, baby.
Prestigious. I think the most prestigious one to
The
sit on
doll
that
of
couch.
all the dolls.
Right. The doll, the president of the dolls.
Wow.
We have Gerald Garth, who is the president of LA Pride, the first Black man president.
BLACK.
What an amazing honor.
Yes, I'm so glad to be here. Thank y'all for having me
Thank
today.
you.
Yes.
I'm so happy to
Now, I mean,
have
we're going to
you.
talk about pride. We're going to talk about being proud. We're also just going to talk about the journey of what it is to be a Black gay man.
Absolutely.
Also talk about relationships and love. So I hope you're ready.
Yes,
You know what I'm saying?
I know what it gives. So
You
I'm
know
ready.
You've seen a couple of them, what we give.
Right.
Really, really quick though, before we dive into the professional side of pride,
Mhm.
we want to ask you, like we ask all our guests, if you had to fill out your dating profile, what would be 3 questions that you would answer on that dating profile?
Okay, 3 questions. These are questions I would respond to or ask.
Ask.
I would ask, okay, what are your goals in life?
Okay.
How do you feel about yourself?
Mhm.
And do you love your mama?
Oh,
Ooh, that do you love your
mama, that's good.
Because that tells how you love everybody else.
Okay.
What
Yeah.
are the top 3 things people would need to know about you?
You. Yeah, how would
on
you
your
describe
date?
yourself?
Yeah.
They would need to know that while we might not be Barack and Michelle, you're going to have to be prepared to be on the journey.
Okay.
Yeah. And so you might be waiting at home for me. You might be on the road with me, but there's work to be done. And somebody who has to be committed to doing that work with me. I am a man of faith. I love God.
Amen.
And so it's
We
important
love
that you
that.
love God too.
Yes.
You might call God something different, but you got to have something bigger than you that's guiding you in this world.
Mhm, mhm.
So that's important to me. And then balance, so, it's good to be out, but it's good to be in.
Yeah,
You got to want to be out with me and in with me.
I know that's
Yeah.
right. What's your relationship status?
So currently, I'm about to say complicated. It's not complicated. It's very clear on what it is. Yeah, we're exploring, evolving.
Okay. So does that mean you are in something and you are, I don't like the word open, but ideas are flowing?
Yes,
Okay.
and ideas and effective communication also. We're very clear on what we're doing and where we see this going, and in like a very healthy timeline too. So yeah, I've been off the market for some years, and I was like, I want to go back and like with a whole new level of intention. So going in saying this is what it is, this is what it's not. Where do we be in the middle?
How long has your version of commitment been a thing for you guys? So like, how long have you guys been in a situation?
So interestingly, we are like a reconnection.
Oh,
Yeah,
we
so
love a reconnection.
yeah.
We love a spin the block and a Shanti and Nelly type of situation.
And no shade, that's really what it's given. Our first chapter was about 15 years ago.
Wow.
Yeah. And I was in college and, we were in college and just trying to figure ourselves out as just like individuals. And we've lived some life and learned some lessons and have like reconnected and have been able to like bring those lessons together and like really serve this version of ourselves. And so this new, this chapter 2 has been about a year, a little under a year.
Now you did say something. You said you were off the market, but you weren't off the market in a relationship. You were off the market because of what?
No, so I had a pretty bad breakup a couple years ago, and I was like, that breakup really showed me a lot about me. And so folks who know me know I'm a very introspective person, and I brought my elements to the space. But then I was like, well, where are you in this? And so I just kind of stepped away and just kind of did some, self-assessment and kind of like we like to say, the work.
Yeah.
And that allowed me to kind of show up and attract differently.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Would you say that you are happy in this version, in this space of your life and your relationship?
Oh, that's a great question. And I am. And happy can be such a loaded word. A lot of times I will say that happy is dependent on what happens. And so much of like my work over these years has really been like finding joy and contentment and just really coming into a sense of self that serves me.
we talked about with each guest, we always talk about Black men's mental health.
Mhm.
What has your mental health check-in journey been like? Because after leaving a tumultuous relationship, as I have too,
Mhm.
I too took that time away
Mhm.
to kind of figure out, what I needed for me, and from me.
Mhm.
And that included, therapy and so many other things.
Mhm.
So what does, you, a man who has a lot on his plate,
Right.
you put a lot of us young Black gay men on your back,
Mhm.
and carry us because you are all about doing the work. I mean, I watch you
Mhm.
Yeah.
day to day. I know you one of my girls.
Yeah,
I know
yeah,
you personally.
yeah, right. You know, real tea.
So how do you, do mental health check-ins?
Mm.
with
Yeah, that's a
yourself?
great question. And that is so important to me. I realize too, like you said, and thank you. So much of my work in these years have been like pouring out.
Mhm.
And I
Okay.
had to really like understand and define what does it look like to be poured into.
Yeah.
And so I'm a big advocate for therapy.
Okay.
I have been for many years.
100%.
Yeah. And when I first got connected to therapy, it was just in the shadow of like my life was falling apart. And I was like,
Right.
I need to talk to somebody now. And then got connected in a way until I was able to, what I say, apply tools. And so I learned a lot of things. And then a big part of my, one of my other hats is I'm executive director of an organization called the Ahmad Institute.
Right.
And Ahmad is arming minorities against addiction and disease. And one of our pillars of work is behavior and mental health.
Right.
And so I'm a big believer in also leading by example. And so if we're connecting with community and Black gay men specifically around, girl, you need to heal your heart. You need to get yourself together.
Yes.
And one of the first questions the children will ask, well, what you know about it?
Okay.
And it's like, well, I too am connected to therapy.
You go into your testimony.
Yeah, and safe spaces. And then, like I mentioned too, my faith plays a big part in my life.
Yeah.
And so just being able to, what I say, lean on something bigger than me
Yeah.
is also very important.
Before we segue, I want to ask, what has changed for you in your connection that you had previously, and how you have that same connection now? What are some things that changed for you between those two times?
Yeah, a major part of it was just, not to be cliche, but self-love.
Mm-hmm.
And, I realized, moving into that former partnership, a lot of what I was sort of expecting for this man to do was sort of elevate parts of myself that I didn't love, or to give love to me in places I did not give love to myself.
Yeah.
And I had to realize by experience is that I had to love me first.
Yeah.
I had to give myself what I needed. I could not expect anybody to give me anything that I wasn't giving myself
Absolutely.
first.
Absolutely.
And that's affirmation, that's love, that's attention. We talk about this all the time. You're not selling me enough attention. You're not buying me nothing. Well, you start buying yourself stuff.
Yeah.
And you set the culture and you teach people how to treat you by how you treat yourself.
Self-love seems to be the reoccurring theme with all of us here.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So what does pride mean
Mhm.
to you?
So that's a great question. Pride really, for me, still means being able to show up authentically.
Yes.
Yeah, because even now, like so many people need still an invitation to show up in the world.
Mhm.
And pride allows folks to not only show up authentically, but to like bring all of the versions of ourselves into the world, specifically us at this intersection as Black people and Black gay men.
Mhm.
There's a very unique experience that is ours. And so pride is that to me.
What does it mean to you?
For me, it just means an overwhelming sense of joy, comfortability, confidence in who you are. You know what I mean? For me, as a person who's Black and gay, I'm just so proud and happy to be in that space. And I'm just very committed to that. So that's what pride means to me.
Yeah. I think for me, pride is excitement.
Yeah.
And I think individual excitement of who
Mhm.
you are as a person. And then when I think about pride in the more broader picture,
Sure. Yeah.
how exciting it is that all of these wonderful, exciting individuals
Community. Yes.
get
community.
together and
Mhm.
have an opportunity to be excited together.
Mhm.
I think anytime I think about pride, just the colors
Yeah.
Mhm.
excite me, but then the meaning
Mhm.
Yeah.
and then the purpose and then where we've come from, just individually as us, young,
Yeah. Everybody's
you know,
story. Yeah. Mhm.
young Black. Well, I think at this age now we kind of like the We ain't the old.
We the old girls.
We're the old girls.
Because I said, y'all not talking to me when I said young.
We're rusty after 29, child. Okay,
right.
But our
Seasoned.
our journey of like pride and gay
yeah,
was a little bit different.
Certainly.
You know what I'm saying? 20 years ago, we weren't this loud and proud, you know, as this young generation is coming up. So I think it's amazing to see that even 20 years from now, the purpose and meaning of pride will be even bigger.
Yeah.
So I think that's a great thing to look at.
I always say that our generation is the first generation where we can actually like live and coexist.
Yes.
And be honest and authentic and be ourselves.
Yeah.
And
In the
safe.
workplace,
Yes.
in the streets.
Yeah, because I
in
see all the
love
time,
life.
even still, too, there are elders and seniors in our community who look to us as an example. I hear all the time people are saying, I am learning from our generation on how to show up publicly and out and proud. So yeah, we do serve, as I say, as this bridge because we're connected to, you know, our upcoming generations, but also to our elder generation in a way that either of them did not have.
And we have that responsibility to really live out loud and clear and honest. So
And I look at this generation now that's like going to prom and like homecomings. You know,
isn't it so beautiful?
This gay generation being able to just be like, you know what, I want to go to prom and I want to wear this, you know, this sleek, you know, outfit with a little train.
I wish I could have took my tray to prom.
Could you imagine?
Him holding me, I got my corset. What that thing called? The croissant.
Right.
Okay.
And then he picking me up with his Carl 22.
Okay. We doing a dance, slow dance to Trina on the dance floor.
I would have had my little shawl on.
You love it, Sean. Baby, it would have been Ja Rule. Put it on me. We'll put up to that. Put it on me.
With Vita.
With Vita,
What y'all know about Vita?
Yes.
Okay. So our next question to you is, I would love for you, Gerald, to share with us your coming out story.
Yeah, of course. So mine was, it's really interesting. It was kind of in segments. So I'm from Louisiana. I'm from Baton Rouge, Louisiana.
Baton Rouge.
Listen,
Shout out.
how I
love a good Creole man.
Listen, don't tell my team. Gotta be professional.
Okay.
But I too love a good Creole.
Okay.
But yeah, so I'm from Baton Rouge, and like I mentioned, very churchy.
Yeah.
And so served in church all my life, and it was around 2020 or so when I was kind of, was kind of wrapping up college and really coming into myself, and my friend group and my kind of sense of identity had begun to grow. And so had this one little friend who we were both just trying to figure out life. And, you know, it was nothing kind of relational or sexual at the time. We found safety in each other. He was really just smallish and flamboyant and just had just this kind of energy that just I was attracted to. And we found a really sense of identity together. And so we were spending a lot of time together. And we were doing a lot of things together. We even going to church together as a duo, as a unit. And so, of course, that just was piquing all the girls' interest. Like, what's going on here?
Was y'all carrying pocketbooks back then?
We weren't, but you know, we was very, I say, even he had a very wifely energy. So he would just, you know, nestle beside, soft
and cunt.
Yeah. Legs crossed in my direction and all that. I was eating it up too.
It was very first lady.
Right. Smoothing my collarbone and all that. And, you know, just eating it up. And so we had a family dinner, which is really big in the South. And we would always do like cookouts and boils and barbecues on Saturdays. And I invited him just as my friend. You know, it was all my cousins and siblings and such. And he would have a practice that I would just not even realize where he would like fix my plate for me. And we were at the family barbecue, and all those wives and girlfriends are making their men's plates, which was just a cultural thing in Louisiana. And he was right there with mine.
He was in a line.
Yeah, and I'm eating my food, not even realize, and he right there, you know, wiping my crumbs and all that. And we both just oblivious. And so this was a Saturday, and my mother was just, I mean, the evangelist, she's still to this day a woman of
the cloth.
Woman of the cloth.
Yes.
Mama back was upright.
Yes.
And so the next day, Sunday, you know, we went to church together, and she, after church, she came over because I lived alone, and she was, she said, "Son, I need to talk to you." And that's just what I did too. I was like, "Well, girl, what is this about?" In so many words. And you know, my friend, she asked, "Who is this friend to you?" And I was like, "He's just a friend. He's just a friend, girl. What's this about?" And she said something. She gave me a phrase that literally changed my life and allowed me to like show up in the world in a way in which I would not have imagined. She told me after that moment, well, if you look at him the same way he looks at you, then I'm okay with that.
Wow.
Yeah. And that,
Come on, evangelist.
right.
I like mama.
It
That's
is.
wonderful.
And I just knew I was gonna have a trauma story.
Yeah.
And I just knew I was in the space, so I had already told myself I'm gonna have to either pick God or pick being out or pick being authentic or a man or a woman or it was all that. And I even joke, I would say I was more afraid of my mama than God. And so
that's
when,
a real
as
wow.
black boys,
black
men, yeah. And she gave me a sense of release that I would not have imagined. And so that was sort of my coming. Of course, it came with all of its issues.
I don't even think that she knows what she did for you.
No, and I've
how
told
she
her
loved you in that moment.
Wow.
Yeah. And so that allowed me to show up in faith spaces and LGBT spaces and black spaces and masculine spaces because I just had this foundation
that my mama loved me.
Yeah.
And I think that for a lot of black gays, I was at Brunch Thursday. We had this. Everybody came out, talked about their coming out stories, and people whose parents, kind of validated their experiences and their feelings. They moved in the
trajectory of their lives.
It's like, you know what? I can show up. If my mama and my daddy support me and love me, what do I care about you as a stranger and what you think of me? How important is that from a child to have?
That's such a key point as a person, knowing that your mother supports you. Even if she didn't give you her blessing, there was not any discouragement. That meant so much to how your life was going to change. I think that's really golden for a lot of us.
Yeah,
and see the trajectories.
And what my mother even did too is she really created this healthy space, this bi-directional space. Because she was aiming to understand also. So she had questions. And I think one thing that I had to learn very early on, we often talk about in this work, creating safe spaces. And it's safe spaces for us. But then when we look on the converse, you got a mama, she got questions. Or you got a dad and he's trying to understand. And it's just like that was very safety.
Bold and audacious of her at that time.
Because that was 25 years ago.
Especially thinking about, like you said, you was like, oh my gosh, I'm about to have trauma.
I already knew.
That was the expectation.
And
I'm going to be disowned. I'm going to have to run away.
Because in our era, that's what it was. There was trauma attached to coming out. So to not have trauma, but to actually have triumph and victory in your coming out story, that is beautiful. That's encouraging. That's why you were built to do everything that you were doing.
And I believe that. And
Mama was a part of that.
And to this day, she still is.
That's beautiful.
And I say, because y'all know this too, to so many folks in the community, I am mother.
You are.
And I just, I even told Guy after that too, it's just like, well, God, I'm so grateful to be to others what I have received, knowing that they did not have. And so people are like, how are you able to do it? I do really see it as a calling.
Oh, that's beautiful. That's beautiful.
Jay, what's your coming out story?
My coming out story was my boyfriend at the time. I had moved back home with my mom for like 6 weeks for college, and my apartment wasn't ready. So I moved back home with my mom. We would sit up in Kiki. Me and my mom were very close. And my boyfriend at the time had sent an edible arrangement to my job. And so when I would come home from work and school, me and mom we would be up like 2-3 hours just catching up on life. And she was so happy to have me home. So that night I told her, hey girl, I got this edible arrangement. We're going to sit up and eat this. And she was like, who bought you that? Because this was that time where edible arrangements was new. So they was expensive.
And everything.
And she was like, well, girl, I bought you that. Jay, you got all these girlfriends. Like who? And I just started crying. And she was like, what is wrong? What you not telling me? And I'm just like, check your email. And I sent her a long email. Well, when she read the email, my brother, who's a year apart from me, he was also there. So he's concerned because I'm crying on the phone. Me and my brother are very close. So they read the email together and I came out that way. My story did not have trauma, but it did have a little bit of impact because my mother was so confused. She felt like she met my boyfriend at the time. And she was like, well, why wasn't the introduction like this is who it really was to me? So we didn't talk for like a couple days just to kind of figure it out. But one thing my mother did not do, I left the house, and went to my boyfriend's mom's house and stayed there for a day. My mother called me, where are you at? Come home. You're not getting kicked out. This is something
that was the expectation.
And now, that was because that's in our generation. That's what happens. And that was not the situation. Got back home. My mom maybe talked about it, and it got kind of heated because it was, it was me really that was the first time I feel like I ever had to stand up to my mom. Like, this is who I am, either accept it or don't. And my mom was like, she was accepting. her concern was the rest of the family. I grew up in a very spiritual family. And so I was expecting trauma. I don't know if my mom sent out a text message or what, but the next day I received a message from every one of my aunts and uncles. My mom has 8 siblings. Every one of my aunts and uncles, 30 of my cousins text me and said, we are proud of you and walk in your truth. My auntie was having a barbecue that next week. My auntie, I love my auntie Nikki so, just thinking about, I love her so much. She called me and was like, bring your boyfriend. And my Uncle Eddie, who I love so much, they were so impactful to my coming out. They said, bring your boyfriend. I was like,
don't move it too fast.
Wait. Y'all moving too fast.
Surprising me.
Y'all surprising me.
Let me breathe.
But I brought my boyfriend.
Wow.
And it was just like, oh, this is who it was. This is my boyfriend or whatever. And I remember like maybe 45 minutes into the barbecue, like, where's my boyfriend? He kicked it with the family, blended in, and it was just like, what is going on here? Like, this is the normal for me. And I was so grateful, but I was so scared. Like you said, like the expectation of having trauma and then not having that trauma, really impacted my journey, because had I gone through a traumatic situation, I don't know what type of impact that would have on me in the future.
What age was this?
I was 19.
Oh, okay. So
I was 19. Yeah, I came out later in life. Yeah. I didn't experiment with the gays until gay
Activity.
Gay activity until I was 17.
Yeah.
I didn't have an experience with a guy or anything like that until I was 17. I didn't lose my gay virginity until like 19, 20.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And I think it's so many, it just amplifies the power of visibility and representation, because families and young folks and young Black gay men can know that you can have an authentic experience that's not connected to or tethered to trauma and pain.
Exactly.
Yeah.
What's your
And not
story?
everybody's story is the same.
Right.
I'm going to keep it brief because I know that we're running out of time, but my coming out story, so I came out in different phases. So I came out to my friends when I was 15. I was in high school and I had a group of friends and we were all going through the same kind of experience. So I had people that I was coming up with that, when I came out with, they were there. The thing was, I didn't really feel supported by them. For me, I grew up very effeminate in an African, and my parents are immigrants, so very African, household. And there's not really, they didn't know anyone like me. So I know my father was really, really he was very honed in on me. We don't really have a good relationship right now. But I had, when I came out, I was outed actually by the people that were actually my friends. So I had that was my first experience with that. Then I started to come out via social media regularly. And I actually told my mother when I was 20 on a bus stop with her. I planned it the whole day. I took her out. We went to Strawberry. I think that was that's like New York Rainbow. You go in and you buy clothes. So we
Rainbow.
Okay, so she got off work. She went to Strawberry. I helped her pick out a few dresses.
Wait, not you buttering Genevieve.
Okay, and then I just spit it out because for me, I was just so tired of holding it.
Yeah.
And I had already been living a gay life. Like, for me, my background, people wouldn't even understand. People wouldn't know that I have been literally living a gay life since I was like 13, 14. I lost my virginity at a very young age. We're not going to really talk about that, but I lost my not here, baby. But I've been living like a very gay life. So at the time when I told her, I was already 6-7 years into my journey. So I told her, and I don't want to say she's necessarily accepting, but my mother is a very loving woman and she really loves me. And I believe that if I was an axe mother, my mother would still support me.
Wow.
So she's just in that space. I just really love my mom and she's a good person. Yeah. And then I think she was the only person I actually confessed to after I had that conversation. After that, I just continued living a regular life. Because, once my mama knows, I'm like, y'all don't matter to me.
Yeah. I think same. And, I think what was interesting for me is like, I had to have like 2 coming outs with my mom because like when I first came out, it was like I'm bisexual.
We all start that road.
Yeah,
okay.
It's
the bisexual
like,
road. It's like an ease in.
Well, it's kind of like everybody saying a verse.
Yeah. Girl, don't take don't take shade to yourself now.
Oh, yikes.
But yeah, so like, and then I think at 19 I had that conversation. Then like at 23, when I had moved to Atlanta, had to have that conversation again with my mom because I was going to an affirming church. So I'm like, you're about to go to a church where my bishop and my first gentleman,
that already.
Yeah.
It's like, now what's this?
And so I had to have that conversation with her, but then it was like, she was just so like, okay.
Yeah.
And then watching my mom interact with other LGBTQ plus people was like, it brought me so much emotion.
I'm sure.
Just watching her love on people. And I remember we were sitting at a bar and we were sitting at Einstein's and took her this first gay bar, I took my mom too. And guys are sending us drinks.
Yeah.
And she's like, oh, at this time she was married. She was like, oh, these men, they don't know I'm married. And then a guy came over and said, you know, I just want to tell you, you're beautiful and so is your son. And she said,
she probably lit up.
she said, oh, wait. Don't none of these men want
Okay. Just like a woman in a space. Thinking everybody want them.
Yeah. And then I was like, no. And then I remember some of my gay friends from church had came with us. And they were just started confessing to my mom, like, I want to have this conversation with my mom and I want to have this conversation with my parents. And seeing my mom encourage them was like, oh, wow. Yeah, I was like, I didn't know what my coming out, how that would impact her. And it made, I think it made my journey so much more important.
So that's
you unlocked the version of her.
Yeah, in so many different ways. So we want to touch on pride really quick.
Okay.
So what was your first gay pride?
Oh, wow. Believe it or not, my first real pride was LA Pride.
What?
It was.
No sizzle, no Vegas Pride, none of that.
No DC Memorial Day.
None of
That's
that.
my
When I
pride.
moved to LA over 10 years ago, that was my first pride. And fast forward, I'm the first Black president 5 years later. Yeah.
Oh.
Were you? I know you grew up very spiritual. Did you go to like gay clubs and stuff like that?
Oh, absolutely not. Absolutely
Really?
not.
What?
Yeah.
You
like,
can't
talk
tell by the
about-
way you twirl now.
Oh, wow. Listen. Made up a long time.
Once you get in, you got to make up for lost time.
Yeah, and like my interests just look very different too because of that upbringing. And so, it wasn't until, gosh, I had this partnership before I even had a social experience.
What?
Yeah, and like we had this very similar sort of interest of life, and it wasn't until we started to just explore the scene a little bit more. But yeah, I didn't even start to do like clubs or drinking or
How long were y'all
anything
together?
to like 23, 5 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's such a big deal.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because I'm from a really big metropolitan city. So a lot of the men that I know were not in relationships. We've seen gay people around, but being somebody who's from the country, it's so different to see how most of y'all start relationships and then end up in y'all gay journey.
Yeah.
With you being a gay mother and a gay parent to so many, did you grow up with any like gay
Mentors?
mothers?
Believe it or not, I did not, but kind of like what we were saying, so many of the children found me or they saw something in me or I saw something in them and I was like, well, child, let me pull you close because I know
Very
the way
nurturing spirit.
Yeah.
Gerald is very
I want to lay my hand on your bosom.
You hug
I can
Gerald,
feel
you're like,
it.
I know.
Okay.
You just feel it.
Yeah. And so even my journey into the house and ball scene was that.
Yeah.
Was me seeing like these, child, you getting a little out of pocket, come sit by me. And back home, a lot of my social spaces was creating those nurturing home spaces for the children.
Jay, do you have any gay mentors or mentee?
You know what?
Fathers.
I didn't. I had a group of, it was like 10 of us that were in high school together. Like we were like a gay crew.
Yeah.
So we all navigated space together, but it was very interesting. And this is what I tell my younger nieces and nephews. If you go through things in life, like look up,
Yeah.
and don't look across because me receiving advice from my peers at 17, 18, 19, going through abusive relationships and things of that nature, they didn't know what to tell me.
They didn't know what to tell you.
Their story was, their thing was fight back.
Yeah.
When it should have been get out.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So they didn't know.
They didn't have the training.
Yeah, they didn't have the training. We were 17, 18, I'm getting abused. How do I get out of this situation? Those friends, we didn't have knowledge of that.
Yeah.
So I didn't have that. But I am that to a lot of people.
Yeah.
Because I want to make sure that, like I said, I want them to look up.
Yeah.
Like, look at me and my experiences and learn from that. Your friends that are 16, 17, they don't know yet.
If I'm mama, you auntie.
Yeah, I'm auntie. I'm rich auntie.
Yeah, go talk to your auntie about that. I'll fix your plate,
It's so interesting because I didn't have any gay mentors and stuff, but I also grew up in New York. So growing up in New York, this is drug, sex, and rock and roll. All the Banshee girls I was hanging out with, we were all like navigating life together. We really didn't have a playbook, but I think that we had community and we had each other, and that's how we started to build those bonds. I have so many friends that I came up with in the scene from 15. I'm 32 now. I've had so many of those friends and stuff, and I would love an opportunity to be a mentor to somebody.
But Nate, your spirit is so nurturing. Like you have a mothering and nurturing spirit on like real, like you really do. And it's so hard for you to receive it, but you do. Like, you
big sister vibe.
Yeah, she and I was like, people come to you, and your phone don't stop ringing all day because so many people feel comfortable with you talking about so many different things. Whether you know it or not, you are a mentor, and people look up to you, and people look to you, to be encouraged and loved on, and you give that.
And I think that it amplifies the value of authenticity because even the three of us and the different versions of ourselves, there's still support that we are able to offer very uniquely to community.
I just want the younger generation to know that there's no playbook, and you don't have to see everybody's struggle or see their experience as how that's yours going to be. Everybody has their own life to live, and I think that they should follow that.
So before we close out, we're going to have you spin the wheel. Okay. Give us one spicy question. Okay. So spin the wheel.
All right. I want to turn that too quick.
Oh, wow. We wrapping up. We love you, Gerald.
You done had us here talking. Listen, the girls know me to talk.
Okay.
So pick that question.
Okay.
She tight.
Oh, wow.
Ooh. Got that grip.
Sign me up. Okay. 3 songs that would be on your sex playlist.
That's cute.
That's
Lord.
Right. Are you a man of a certain age?
Grace.
So I know you're going to put
Not Amazing Grace.
Okay. Not Amazing Grace. Ave Maria.
Right.
Okay.
Instrumentals. Gosh, let me
Hosanna,
see.
girl.
Any Jodeci.
Take Kirk Franklin off the list, girl.
Okay, let me see who else we got. A little intro. Oh, goodness. I'm not no music person.
Mary Shackles, if you're into freaky stuff.
You want to spin again? We'll let you spin again.
I can shock again.
Through the fire.
Y'all being cute.
That was a good spin.
Okay,
You gotta be careful. Our little board is a little old. You need to be.
Price is right to you. What does sex mean to you in a relationship? How long is your ideal sex session with? Sex to me, I mean, it has certainly evolved over the years. You know, for one, it was a means to an end. For one, it was a transaction. At one point, it was something to do. Now it really is sort of a layer of expression and shared celebration. Yeah, because growing up religious too, there was a lot of shame connected to sex.
Especially the kind of sex that we have.
Yeah. And I really had to like relearn my relationship with sex. So now I love sex and I enjoy sex and I enjoy someone who enjoys it with me.
Yes.
Yeah. So there's that. And how long is your ideal session? You name it. I'm good for a quickie. I'm good for an all-nighter. I'm good for in between.
All right.
Yeah. It just kind of depends because you know I'm busy too. I got a press conference in the morning. Can we go ahead and get where we going?
In a relationship, how many times a week should you and your partner be intimate?
Gosh, I'm a very sexual man. I don't know if it's Taurus energy or what, but I'm very sensual.
You know that
like
Taurus energy, girl?
Yeah, I like to, touch and nibble. Next thing you know, here we are.
Yeah.
I just want to say hello. And next thing, well, here we are. I would say no less than 4.
Yeah, I think that's reasonable.
Yeah.
What do you want your legacy to be when it's all said and done?
Oh, goodness. That's so powerful. I want people to know that you are more than enough and everything that you have to offer the world needs, and no lived experience is wasted experience.
I love that. Yeah. I love that.
Can we ask one more question before we close? What would you tell your younger selves?
Yes, that's such a beautiful question. If I had to tell my younger self something, it's worth the wait.
That's really good.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for coming on our podcast. Thank you so much for just taking time out of your busy schedule and spending time with us. We are forever proud of you.
Absolutely.
We are thankful to know you. We are on this journey with you, rooting you all the way. And whatever you need from us, just know that we are behind you.
100%.
Yes.
Yes.
Because you are doing the Lord's work.
And I
You
believe
are
that.
in
Yeah.
so many different ways, day to day. I would love to see your schedule.
Yeah.
I
I hope this
We'll have a
interview
great team.
touches. I hope it touches somebody.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
happy Pride, everybody.
Happy Pride,
Thank y'all so
everybody.
much for listening. And daters, we'll see you guys next time.
Yes.